Welcome back my YouTube channel, the 1961 United States 5-cent coin, Jefferson nickel, covering its origins, design, political and economic context, minting details, and long-term significance. The 1961 United States 5-cent coin, history and significance. The 1961 United States 5-cent coin, commonly known as the Jefferson nickel, represents a small but meaningful artifact in American numismatic and social history. Struck during a time of global tension, domestic prosperity, and cultural change, the 1961 nickel reflects both continuity and transition in mid-20th century America. While not a rare or precious coin, its historical value lies in its design legacy, production context, and role in everyday American life. Origins of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1913. The Buffalo nickel, though artistically admired, wore down quickly in circulation, making dates and inscriptions difficult to read. By the mid-1930s, the U.S. Mint sought a more durable and practical design. A public competition was held, and Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor, won with his depiction of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His design emphasized clarity, balance, and symbolism, qualities that would define the nickel for decades. By the time 1961 arrived, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for over 20 years and was a familiar object in American pockets. Design and physical characteristics. The 1961 Jefferson nickel maintained the same basic design used since 1938. Obverse, front. Portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing left. Inscription. In God we trust. Liberty. The year 1961. The obverse reflects Jefferson as a symbol of democracy, Enlightenment ideals, and American independence. His presence on the coin underscored national values during a period when the United States was positioning itself as a global leader. Reverse, back. Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. Inscription. E pluribus unum. Monticello. 5 cents. United States of America. Monticello represents Jefferson not only as a statesman, but also as a philosopher, architect, and advocate of education and Republican ideals. Composition and size. Komposition. 75% Copper, 25% Nickel. Weight. 5 grams. Diameter. 21.2 millimeters. Edge, plain. Unlike silver coins, the nickel's alloy was chosen for durability and affordability, making it ideal for heavy circulation. Minting and production in 1961. In 1961, Jefferson nickels were produced at 2 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, mint mark D. Approximate mintages. Philadelphia, over 73 million coins. Denver, over 229 million coins. These high production numbers reflect strong demand for coinage due to population growth, economic expansion, and increased consumer spending. The early 1960s were marked by widespread use of cash transactions, and coins were essential for daily commerce. The absence of a mint mark on Philadelphia coins was standard practice at the time, which sometimes causes confusion for modern collectors. Historical context. America in 1961. The year 1961 was a pivotal moment in U.S. history, and the nickel circulated during events that shaped the modern world. Political landscape. John F. Kennedy was inaugurated as president in January 1961. The Cold War dominated global politics. Major events included the Bay of Pigs invasion, the beginning of the Berlin Wall's construction, intensifying tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Although the nickel itself did not change, it passed through the hands of citizens living under the constant shadow of nuclear conflict. Economic conditions. The U.S. economy in 1961 was relatively strong. Expanding middle class. Growing suburbs. Rising consumer culture. Nickels were used for Publiktransportation, newspapers, candy, soda, and jukebox music, pay phones and parking meters. The coin was a practical tool of daily life, not a collectible luxury. The Jefferson nickel and wartime legacy. Just 15 years earlier, during World War II, Jefferson nickels were struck with a special silver alloy, 35% silver, to conserve nickel for the war effort. By 1961, the coin had long returned to its standard copper-nickel composition, but this wartime legacy added historical depth to the series. Collectors often compare post-war nickels like the 1961 issue with the wartime versions to illustrate how global events can directly affect coinage. Collectability and numismatic value. From a collector's standpoint, the 1961 Jefferson nickel is considered a common-date coin. Due to its high mintage, most examples are worth close to face value unless they are in exceptional condition. Factors affecting value. Condition. Uncirculated or mint state coins are more desirable. Full steps. Coins with sharply defined steps on Monticello are prized by collectors. Mint mark. Denver coins are more common than Philadelphia coins, but neither is rare. Despite modest monetary value, the coin is often collected as part of Jefferson nickel sets, birth year collections, historical coin albums, cultural and educational importance. Coins like the 1961 nickel play an important role in education and historical awareness. They offer tangible connections to the past and provide insight into American political ideals, artistic trends in government design, economic history and inflation, everyday life of previous generations. For many Americans, the Jefferson nickel was one of the first coins they learned to recognize, making it an enduring symbol of familiarity and continuity. Design continuity and later changes. The Jefferson nickel design remained largely unchanged until 2004, when the U.S. Mint introduced the Westward Journey series, commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition. In 2006, a new obverse portrait of Jefferson was adopted. Thus, the 1961 nickel belongs to the classic Jefferson design era, making it part of a long, uninterrupted tradition spanning more than 6 decades. Legacy of the 1961 5-cent coin. Although the 1961 5-cent coin does not stand out for rarity or precious metal content, its importance lies in its historical continuity. It reflects stability in American coinage, respect for founding figures, the daily economic life of Cold War-era America. The coin circulated through grocery stores, schools, factories, and homes, silently witnessing a transformative period in U.S. history. Conclusion. The 1961 United States Jefferson nickel is a modest yet meaningful artifact of American history. It embodies the values of durability, practicality, and national identity during a time of political tension and social change. While often overlooked due to its abundance, the coin offers a valuable window into the everyday experiences of Americans in the early 1960s. In numismatics, history is not always found in rarity or high value. Sometimes it rests in the common coins that passed through millions of hands, shaping and reflecting the life of a nation. The 1963 United States 5-cent coin, Jefferson nickel, written in a clear, academic style suitable for school, collectors, or general interest. The 1963 United States 5-cent coin, history, design, and context. The 5-cent coin of the United States, commonly known as the nickel, has played a significant role in American commerce and culture since its introduction in the 19th century. Among the many years of issue, the 1963 5-cent coin stands out not because of rarity, but because it reflects an important transitional period in U.S. history, politically, economically, and socially. Minted during the early 1960s, the 1963 nickel represents stability in American coinage at a time when the nation was undergoing profound change. Origins of the 5-cent coin. The United States 5-cent coin was first introduced in 1866, shortly after the Civil War. Before that time, 5-cent pieces were made of silver and known as half-dimes. The introduction of a base metal 5-cent coin was largely influenced by industrialist Joseph Wharton, who promoted the use of nickel in U.S. coinage. The new coin was composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a composition that remains unchanged to this day. Over the decades, several designs appeared on the nickel, including the shield nickel, Liberty Head, V nickel, and Buffalo nickel. In 1938, the Buffalo nickel was replaced by the Jefferson nickel, which is the design used on the 1963 5-cent coin. Introduction of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's birth. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The reverse of the coin depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia plantation and architectural masterpiece. Schlag's original reverse design was modified by the U.S. Mint to create a more detailed and balanced image suitable for mass production. By 1963, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for 25 years and was a familiar and trusted part of everyday American life. Physical characteristics of the 1963 nickel. The 1963 5-cent coin maintains the standard specifications of the Jefferson nickel. Diameter, 21.21 millimeters. Weight, 5 grams. Komposition, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Edge plain, no reeds. The obverse bears the inscription, "In God We Trust," to the left of Jefferson's portrait, "Liberty" to the right, and the date 1963. The reverse includes United States of America, E pluribus, annum, 5 cents, and the image of Monticello. Minting and production. In 1963, 5-cent coins were produced at 2 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, D-mint mark. That year, over 390 million nickels were struck, reflecting the high demand for small denomination coins in daily commerce. Unlike some earlier years, the 1963 nickel was not produced at the San Francisco Mint for circulation. The early 1960s saw widespread public concern about coin shortages, partly due to hoarding driven by rising silver prices. While nickels contained no silver, the increased demand for all coinage led to very high production numbers in 1963 and subsequent years. Historical context: America in 1963. The year 1963 was a pivotal moment in American history. The United States was in the midst of the Cold War, facing tensions with the Soviet Union following the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. Domestically, the civil rights movement was reaching a critical point, with events such as the March on Washington and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech occurring that same year. Tragically, 1963 is also remembered for the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November. Although the coinage did not change immediately after his death, the national sense of loss and transition would later influence U.S. coin designs, including the introduction of the Kennedy half-dollar in 1964. The 1963 nickel circulated during this era of transformation, quietly facilitating daily transactions while bearing the image of one of America's founding fathers, an enduring symbol of democratic ideals. Economic significance. In 1963, 5 cents had greater purchasing power than it does today. A nickel could buy small, everyday items such as candy, gum, or a newspaper. Vending machines, payphones, and public transportation often relied heavily on 5-cent coins, making the nickel an essential part of everyday life. The continued use of a copper-nickel alloy proved economically advantageous, especially as silver prices rose in the early 1960s. This foresight helped the U.S. avoid drastic changes to the nickel when silver was removed from dimes and quarters in 1965. Collectability and value. The 1963 Jefferson nickel is generally considered a common coin and is not rare in circulated condition. Because of the high mintage numbers, most examples are worth face value unless they are in exceptional condition. However, collectors value uncirculated examples. Proof-like strikes. Coins with full steps on Monticello indicating a strong strike. Mint state coins with sharp detail can command higher prices among collectors, especially those certified by professional grading services. Errors and varieties. While no major varieties are associated with the 1963 nickel, minor minting errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, Double strikes can increase collector interest. These errors provide insight into the minting process and are sought after by specialized collectors. Legacy of the 1963 Nickel. The 1963 5-cent coin represents continuity in U.S. coinage during a decade of change. While the nation was redefining itself socially and politically, the Jefferson nickel remained unchanged, symbolizing stability and tradition. The design would continue until 2004, when the U.S. Mint introduced the Westward Journey Nickel series, temporarily altering the reverse design to commemorate the Lewis and Clark expedition. Jefferson's portrait would return in modified form in 2006. Conclusion. The 1963 United States 5-cent coin may appear ordinary at first glance, but it carries deep historical significance. As a product of its time, it reflects the economic needs, artistic traditions, and political stability of early 1960s America. Bearing the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, the coin connects everyday transactions to the nation's founding principles. Though not rare or particularly valuable, the 1963 nickel remains an important artifact of American history, a small but enduring witness to a transformative era in the United States. The 1994 United States 5-cent coin, the Jefferson nickel, covering its background, design, production context, economic role, and significance. The 1994 United States 5-cent coin, history and significance. The 5-cent coin of the United States, commonly known as the nickel, is one of the most familiar denominations in American coinage. The 1994 5-cent coin, officially called the Jefferson nickel, represents a continuation of a long-standing design tradition that reflects both American history and everyday economic life. Though not rare or commemorative, the 1994 nickel holds historical value as a product of its era, politically, economically, and culturally during the late 20th century. Origins of the 5-cent coin. The concept of a 5-cent coin in the United States dates back to the mid-19th century. Early 5-cent coins were made of silver and were known as half-dimes. These were produced from 1794 until 1873. As industrialization increased and metal prices fluctuated, the U.S. Mint sought a more durable and affordable alternative. In 1866, Congress authorized the first base metal 5-cent coin made primarily of copper and nickel. This coin became known simply as the nickel, a name derived from its metallic composition rather than its denomination. Since then, the 5-cent coin has remained a consistent part of U.S. currency. Introduction of the Jefferson nickel. The design used on the 1994 5-cent coin originated in 1938, when the U.S. Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel with a new design honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States.